EQ8 is Ableton's studio EQ featuring up to 8 filters. Let's check it out. I have just a beat here. I'm going to load EQ8 on it. Let's see what's going on here. So first of all, I'm going to close the browser because the first thing we can do with the EQ8 is actually bring it up to see a bigger view, which is really great. We can drag it down a bit to also see our arrangement or our session. Excellent. You can also double click on the spectrum, bring it up and down instead of using the arrow. Okay, so here we have 8 different filters. By default, 4 of them are on. I would recommend if you're not using any one of the filters, if you're not using filters, just turn them off. Only turn on the one you're actually using. So here is filter 1. First of all, we have all the filter types. We have the low cut, cutting the low frequencies. High pass, only letting the high frequencies pass, which is very similar to the low cut, but we just have a different type of curve. Low cut has a steeper curve here in the slope. So basically 12 dB per octave and times 4, 48 dB per octave. We have a low shelf, which will boost everything below or attenuate everything below the filter point. A bell filter, just boosting a certain band of frequencies or cutting a certain band of frequencies. Band reject or a notch filter, cutting, just carving a hole. We have the high shelf, just like the low shelf, just for the high frequencies. We have a low pass and a high cut. Nice. Let's go to the bell filter now. Each one of these filters do have the frequency knob here. You can change it from the filter itself. You have the gain, which you can also change just dragging up and down. And you have the Q, which is the width of the filter, where you can also just hold Option or Alt and drag it up and down to change it from the filter. Nice. Here we have the spectrum analyzer that we can see in the background, giving us the frequency response of the sound that we're playing into it. We can turn it off if you want. We also have Audition Mode, which is very cool. If we click and hold on the filter, it just plays us the differences that we're actually doing with the filter, so it's easy for us to focus on a specific frequency that we're working on. But if it's on 0, if nothing actually happens, so we won't hear anything because it does play us the differences. Okay, nice. Here we have the mode. By default, it's stereo. It's a stereo EQ, works both on the left and right. We can change it to a left and right EQ, so now it's separate. We have one EQ for the right and one EQ for the left, which we can create some very interesting stereo effects. Let's add another filter point here. Nice. We also have a mid-side mode, and now we have 2 separate EQs, one for the mids and one for the sides, which is really great. You can test out everything in mono. You can get only the stereo information by removing the mid, and hear what's on the sides. Nice. You can also even select all the filter points and start moving them together, which is also cool for automations, sound design, all sorts of this stuff. Let's go back to stereo mode. Excellent. Adaptive Q. If we turn it off, the Q point or the width of the filter won't change as we boost it or attenuate it compared to the default mode, where they will become narrower and narrower as we bring them up or down. Let's bring it up and turn it off. Nice. The scale will take all your scale points, all your filter points, and just scale them down. And you can even go to negative values and invert it, which can be very useful for techniques like complementary EQ, where I do something on one track, copy this EQ to a different track, and then just invert it to make the EQ processing complement each other between multiple tracks. Finally, we have the gain knob here. This is the overall volume, output volume of the EQ. And of course, as we start boosting, start cutting, it will change the volume, the output volume of the signal, so we can balance it out again using this gain knob, just the gain staging. We do have one more thing. You can right click on the title of the EQ. You can choose oversampling, which will oversample the processing, the signal, the sample rate when the signal goes inside the EQ, resulting in a higher resolution of processing, and then downsampling when it's outputting. I would recommend to reset the EQ. Set it to whatever you want. For example, probably the most used EQ technique is just to cut the lows. So you can do something like this, turn on oversampling, and then right click again and save as default preset. So your default preset is already good to go for most EQ applications, instead of having all those 4 filters open up, right? With just usually, probably in most cases, you won't use this amount of filters, so many. That's it. EQ8, super useful for, of course, mixing, but a really great sound design tool. And you can create some stereo effects here. You can, of course, control your mid sides and all those other fun stuff.